Welcome to True Crime with Strategic Eyes.
Strategic back again. What's going on, guys? I know we haven't dived back into this Jake Haro, Rebecca Haro case where we're looking for justice for baby Emmanuel Haro, but I wanted to definitely update you guys on a recent press release that was released by the Riverside County District Attorney, where they're basically trying to make their clarification on what happened in Jake Haro's first case. Now, a lot of people have given them hay, including myself, about their handling on the initial charges when Jake Haro was accused of doing unthinkable, unspeakable things to his daughter, now known as Promise Faith. At the time, she was Carolina Haro. Now, if you don't know, Jake Haro and his current wife, Rebecca Haro, are currently sitting in county jail charged with a slew of homicide charges related to their son, Emmanuel Haro, who is now presumed to be deceased. His body has yet to be retrieved, ladies and gentlemen. There's a lot of complicating aspects to this case, such as, is the family cooperating or not? Were there deals given to Jake or Rebecca? What's going on? We've seen Jake on the side of the road in his prison garb assisting and looking for his son, though the son was not found. There's so much going on. It's such a salacious case. But before we got to Emmanuel Haro's tragic ending, which we all believe he's no longer with us, there was Promise Faith. It was the 10-week-old daughter of Jake Haro and Vanessa Haro, his previous wife, who was so brutally beaten by Jake Haro that she is permanently disabled and has 3% of her brain functioning. 3%. She can't sleep without getting up and having mucus removed from her body. She can't eat on her own. She can't use the bathroom on her own. She can't even really think on her own. It's very sad and it's traumatizing, but Jake, unfortunately, and his ex-wife got sweetheart deals. Sweetheart deals where neither one of them did any jail time for what they did against Promise Faith. In fact, they were able to move on with their lives and start even more families. Vanessa Haro, who now has a different last name because she's divorced from Jake, she has more kids, new kids, even though her other kids, the kids that existed during the time of Promise Faith's abuse, are now living with other relatives. She's lost custody of those children, yet she was able to go on and make even more kids after those unfortunate circumstances. Same thing for Jake Haro. He divorced her, he moved on, he did no jail time, he took a couple of classes, and boom, he made more kids with Rebecca Haro and now committed the same offense against a different child, this time, unfortunately, probably going too far, resulting in Emmanuel Haro's death. Well, I want to read for you guys a statement from the Riverside County District Attorney's Office explaining what they feel about how the initial case was handled between Promise Faith, aka Carolina Haro. Let's do it. A statement to the media and our community members regarding clarification and accountability in the prior case of Jake Haro. Let's keep going. There has been a significant amount of misinformation circulating regarding the handling of the prior criminal case against Jake Haro. Now, I just want to throw this in there before I continue. I was watching Law and Crime, I believe it was Law and Crime, and they had a former Riverside County District Attorney who said that the District Attorney's Office of Riverside charged Jake Haro incorrectly and that he should have been charged with a higher charge than what he was charged with, and it was because of the district attorney that the judge had no choice but to give a light sentence to Jake Haro and Vanessa Haro at the time, all right? So keep that in mind, that they're not just talking about us right now, they're also talking about their former colleagues who are blaming them for being soft on charging of Jake and Vanessa Haro, which resulted in a soft and extraordinarily lenient sentence from the judge. So let's keep going. As the district attorney's office, we have conducted a thorough internal review of how this case was managed, and we wish to clarify several critical points to ensure the public receives an accurate understanding of the facts. It is important to recognize that our office believed the charges could have been more severe based on the nature and extent of the victim's injury. So they acknowledge that the charges could have been more severe. And who's in charge of charging, ladies and gentlemen? Well, the district attorney. So that is their fault. It appears that they're taking accountability for it, but let's see if they really dive deep into it and take accountability, or if they're just brushing over it. Let's see. Had the case gone to a preliminary hearing, it is highly likely that we would have sought amendments to increase the charges. However, Mr. Haro pled guilty prior to that stage, and the final plea was presented to and accepted by the court. So they're not taking accountability, because they're trying to say if it went to a preliminary hearing that it would have been tougher charges. They could have increased those charges at any time, and they could have not accepted that guilty plea, and they could have said, listen, no, we want to amend these charges and charge them with something more serious. No, they're trying to make it seem like once Jake pled guilty that their hands were tied, that they're not holding themselves accountable. This is a bullcrap statement, to be honest with you. But let's keep going. They think that they're playing off of the ignorance of most people not understanding how the court system works. They're playing off semantics. They're like, oh, well, he pled guilty so quickly, our hands were tied. No. They could have amended those charges at any time. Let's keep going. However, Mr. Haro pled guilty prior to that stage, and a final plea was presented to and accepted by the court. Prior to any plea to the court in the previous case, we strongly objected to the proposed sentence, a probationary term with 100 days and a work release program with the prison sentence suspended. We made this objection in open court and on the record. Our objection was made based on seriousness of the injuries Mr. Haro inflicted on his then 10-week-old daughter. When the court chose to deviate from the people's insistence that Mr. Haro deserved prison time for his actions, it was acutely aware of the heinous and permanent nature of this young victim's injuries. The availability of more serious charges does not change what the facts dictate the appropriate punishment should be. So I know exactly what happened, and I'll tell you what it is right now before we even continue. Like most district attorneys who are overworked and overwhelmed with tons of cases on their docket, this is a serious case to us, but they have 20 other cases just like this one on their docket for each DA, not to mention 100 theft cases, maybe 15 to 20 homicide cases. They're stacked. And then probably 20 rapes. They're stacked. They got a lot going on their plate. They wanted this case to go away. What they thought was that the judge would have given him a harsher sentence based off of what he pled guilty to. Even though they could have charged him with a more serious crime, they were perfectly fine with him pleading guilty to this lesser charge, but they believed that based off of the facts of the case, that the judge would have given them the maximum on the lesser charge. They took a gamble that was not theirs to take, because in the interest of justice, they should have charged Jake and Vanessa with the maximum and the most harshest charge that was available to them, but they did not. They probably didn't do it because if they charged them with the harshest charge, guess what would have happened? Jake Haro would not have pled guilty. They had a guilty plea on their hands at the lesser charge. They had a court battle on their hands with the more serious charge. They chose to gamble and allow him to plead guilty on the lesser charge, blaming it on this preliminary hearing, all that bullcrap, which is totally nonsense. But they assumed that the judge would give him something. 2 years in jail, 3 years in jail, maybe even 1 year in jail. But the judge chose not to. The judge erred on the lesser spectrum of the sentencing continuum that he had offered to him. Unbelievable. And now they're trying to put wool over our eyes and make us believe that it's just a clerical thing. He pled guilty before the preliminary hearing, so we had no choice. And the judge is terrible. The judge gave him such a light sentence. Well, you made it easy for the judge to give him a light sentence because you did not accurately charge him. So now, what that former Riverside County District Attorney who was interviewed on Law and Crime, what she said makes perfect sense now. And who would know better than her, since she worked in that office and she's an attorney and she's qualified to make that decision? I'm just a detective. I'm not an attorney. I know a lot about the criminal justice system from working with attorneys, but at the end of the day, I'm not an attorney. So their word means more than mine. But it's not just my word. It's a former Riverside County District Attorney who's telling you guys that they undercharged Jake Haro. And I am buttressing what she's saying by saying, from my experience, I agree too. Jake Haro was undercharged. And if you read into their statement, they're telling you he was undercharged, but they're not taking accountability for the fact that he was undercharged. Let's keep going. No one has denied that the court had the discretion to make the decision to grant Mr. Haro probation. We believe that granting Mr. Haro probation under these circumstances on these facts was an inappropriate use of that discretion. And that was the basis of our objection. Well, you gave the judge the ability to give him probation because you undercharged him. And the only time the objections came is when the judge meted out their decision, their judgment. You didn't complain when he pled guilty to that lesser charge. You didn't complain. You had no problem with it. You just had a problem with the sentencing, a sentencing that was only made possible because of your negligence in correctly charging this monster, Jake Haro. And because you incorrectly charged Jake Haro, he killed baby Emmanuel. Baby Emmanuel's blood is on your hands, Riverside County District Attorney. Let's keep going. Our office's primary focus, remains providing justice for baby Emmanuel. It is essential that we do not lose sight of who is truly responsible for the loss of life at issue in this case and focus our time and energy on ensuring justice for baby Emmanuel. I hear you, but how I look at it is that people like Jake Haro are monsters. And if we as a society do not take measures to protect ourselves from monsters, monsters are going to be monsters and they're going to do what monsters do. So the onus is on us, a sane people of sound mind, us reasonable people. The onus is on us to take the proper precautions to protect ourselves and the most vulnerable in our society from people like Jake Haro. You had an opportunity to protect our society, our children, Jake's children, from Jake Haro, and you didn't take that opportunity by properly charging him. And unfortunately, you could have said in a statement that we reviewed what we did and we could have done better and we apologize. And unfortunately, we have another shot to make it right. It's unfortunate, but it's a reality. And we promise you we will make it right this time and protect the public from Jake Haro. That's what you should have said. People probably would have still come on and say, see, you messed up. But at least they'd understand that you know that you messed up and that you would not make a mistake moving forward, that you learned your lesson and you changed your policies. That's what people want to hear. They don't want to hear you deflecting and not taking responsibility for the errors of your prosecution. So anyway, that's the Riverside County's clarification, if you want to call it that, of what happened in the case of Promise Faith, aka Carolina Haro. I hope you guys enjoyed it. We'll stay on this case. I'll see you guys on the next one. Strategic is out of here. Peace.